Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
Hello and welcome to Creative Ghettos, the show that explores various creative industries and profiles the Africans who push them forward. Each week, I spend 30 minutes unveiling excellent and inspiring individuals within creative industries, including but not limited to fine art, architecture, design, food, film, and literature. My name is Kwanele Kunene. Thank you for joining me right here on brandlive.co.za. This week, I had the pleasure of chatting to South African chef Khanya Mzongwana at the African Bear Emporium, where she also cooks. Khanya's ideas about food are passionately personal, as they have a lot to do with humans and breaking through socio-economic barriers, making food somewhat of a method of positive activism. She's a chef, an incredible food stylist, working with premium publications such as Woolworth's Taste magazine, and she's an off-the-wall menu designer. Here's our conversation. Khanya, please tell me a little bit more about yourself, your background, where you grew up, and some of the things that have influenced most of your life, basically.
Okay, so I'm Khanya, and I'm a chef, and I'm from PE, and what do I do, or what has influenced me? What is the question there?
Yeah, the question is really just, I want to get to know you. So, growing up, what was that experience like? And those things that have influenced just you as a person and not necessarily your profession.
Okay, well, I just grew up in a family full of women, so I was lucky enough to be brought up in like a practical matriarch, and there was just a lot of cooking happening all the time, There was always just something to celebrate or just something to eat about. And I grew up in that background where, knowing how to prepare food was mandatory, but it wasn't something that was, put on us as a burden, as a chore, It was just really just something I gravitated towards as, the only chore I was really willing to do and like learn to enjoy. But I think my interest in food, it started out when my parents got divorced when I was really young. And so my brother and I lived with my mom, and we moved around from flat to flat in PE. And my mom used to she obviously cooked all the dinners for us and stuff. And I'd just hang out with her in the kitchen and see what she was doing. And just, I wouldn't even be aware that I was making mental notes of what she was actually doing and stuff, but I was. And I think the first meal that I ever cooked, I think I was like 9 or something. And I was just going by these guidelines that my mom wasn't really actively teaching me, but she was just doing the things, and I was watching her do things, and I was just remembering how she did things. And it was just like a case of kind of like broken telephone, where I sort of remembered her frying onions with this spice. And I came home the one day and she was working late, so I just took it upon myself to cook dinner. And I think that I know that I made pasta, but I think I made like a shitload of pasta. Like I had absolutely no idea what like measurements were, and I just...
But isn't that everyone's issue though with pasta? Because you don't expect it to expand the way
don't make the whole packet if there's just 2 of you or if there's just 3 of you, or else you're gonna eat pasta for like 3 days, and by the 3rd day it's not gonna be so great. So especially if you don't know how to repurpose stuff. So so I made a whole lot of food, but I made food, and it was like a big deal for my mom, and I figured that maybe this would be like the way that I would like help take a load off for her, but I don't even know if that's how I was thinking when I was like 9 years old. But I just knew it was something that made my mom happy, like my interest in food and my ability to, kind of do things. So it became more and more regular when she, started feeling okay with me, handling a knife and being in the kitchen and handling a hot stove, so it obviously came with a lot of initial fuck-ups, but it was just something that I liked. I enjoyed the learning process of it all, and then like just food just became so fluid for me. And yeah, eventually it became a thing that I knew I was going to do, in my life.
Cool. And so when you finally made that decision in high school, I'm ready, I'm going into chef school. When you go into chef school, I think, this is what I would think, that you are, your head is set on working for some premium restaurant somewhere in France and creating some sort of a name for yourself. But you chose other routes, and in fact they're very interesting, and I think it just gives a really vast approach to the cooking industry. Tell us more about the various things that you do as a chef.
Okay, well, first of all, capitalism sucks. And the reason that, there are a lot of reasons for the types of decisions that I made in my career. I made a lot of decisions based on how lazy I was, how much I didn't want to do, and just how much the world owes me. And then it kind of, it morphed into I think more than anything, I mean, it's all jokes and stuff, but more than anything, I think that my interest in food allowed me to be exposed to like a whole lot of other things that I could do, a whole lot of other ways that I could be involved in the industry, and I think styling and stuff, it became something that was accessible to me with mediums like Instagram, where it was very much it was a visual platform, and for me it was like such a cool place to be. It was such a cool place to be able to find myself, where the most important thing was the visuals. That was like mind blowing for me. So I just I got on this app, I got this app, and I was just like, yeah, people are Instagramming, let me also Instagram. And so I would just, post really bad pictures of like really great food, I swear, but the pictures were super bad. But it was a starting point for me to, present food the way I wanted to and stuff. And I mean, it seems like not a big deal and like kind of stupid and everything, but it was just really fun, and just the funness of putting dishes together and developing recipes without even the prospect of somebody is paying you to do this, like a company has asked you to do this, and just making food for the people that I love at home and sharing the recipes it was like a therapeutic exercise for me. So it was something that came super naturally, and I didn't even realize that it was actually a form of call it like training, I guess, where I was, getting better at conceptualizing and at, creating different realities for ingredients, and stuff, and just figuring out what I like as well, because it became like such an inward project of just like understanding nature, being influenced by nature, and like just I don't know if I'm allowed to say like what we spoke about earlier, like was there an earlier?
No, like, you be as honest as possible.
Yeah, but like the for instance, just getting to a space where I realized just how different ingredients all are, and how peculiar and clever and planned and nature really can be, and how just the art of ingredients and just how different things taste and look, and the different functions and the different techniques or just ways to treat ingredients, how I got to learn that sort of thing just from pure trial and error, forget school and all that sort of thing, the education that you give yourself when you engage with ingredients in private is like, it's invaluable, and I think that being on the IG and, getting to play with ingredients at home and really just making a priority of going out there looking for crazy ingredients and seeing and engaging with them like in, simple ways, like for instance, tasting something raw, cutting it up, sussing it out, cooking it in different ways, and just seeing what does this ingredient actually do? What is it for? How am I gonna factor it into a plate? That was fun for me, and it's like, it's really like simple, but it's really something important for me, and it's something that I always do. Like, it's something I still do, just to kind of get back to myself. Is like, I just deal with nature and I deal with ingredients, and it's like, yeah, it's just an important part of my life.
Cool. So, the one thing that that I love when you speak about all these ingredients that you use, when I look at your Instagram account, there are ingredients that you mentioned there that I've never ever heard of ever in my life before, and I don't even know where on earth I would come across them, especially like in a store. And I'm sure I'm sure you shop at the same places that I shop at, but it's just so weird to have that type of interaction with things that I don't know. What I do love is that they work for your dishes. It's not, you're not just trying to be abstract, because I think a lot of the time people just want to be different for different's sake. How long does it take you to fine tune a recipe so that you're like, yeah, this works.
No, I mean, like, I don't know. I think everything is kind of just from the top of my head. It's stuff that I've liked eating, and then I just, find different ways to make it relevant to, now, the way people eat now. For instance, something as simple as potato salad. It's something that's changed so many times in my life. Like, I think I've probably made 100 different types of potato salad, and that's like such an old dish, and it's such a childhood dish for me. Like, it's a braai staple, but it's like we probably have about I don't know, like at least 10 different varieties of potatoes at our disposal, in the places we shop in and stuff, and it's important to explore that, like knowing how to make one soup could open up like so much for you in terms of, oh, there's this ingredient, let me fucking soup it up, and I don't know, I sound like I'm talking gibberish right now, but I think availability of ingredients is a big deal right now. It's like, it's so tough to find, for instance, indigenous ingredients. I always say, like, in every fucking way, like, South Africa is like the white people of Africa, in the sense that we just have this disregard for indigenous ingredients. I know that attitude has changed a lot in the food industry in the past 3 years, where people are really starting to dig deep into like our food roots as South Africans. What is indigenous to us? How do these things are so healthy, and they're so rich, and they're so rich in the things that we need nutritionally now, and how do we get access to these things? And the whole thing is, nobody wants to go to Marabastad, nobody wants to go to Kerk Street in Joburg CBD and figure out, how to get freaking amazing peanuts from Mali, or, get like something as simple as, like white mealies, for instance, is so like, it's so difficult to find those and stuff, because it's regarded like a black ingredient, an ingredient that it's a food that poor black people like to eat. So why would major supermarkets stock it, if it's not in the interest of, this perceived idea they have of who spends money, you know what I mean? So we've got an issue where we don't know where to get these ingredients, and then when we do know, it's not safe enough for us to park our cars there. And I try my best to get people exposed to things like, ground nuts, millet, different types of morocco and stuff like that, and I try and factor them into the recipes I develop for restaurants and stuff, to also get them to get their heads out of their asses and, eat other food, and just like realize that there's so many things that you actually like that you're not exposed to. So you think that you like this limited amount of things. There's so many things out there, So, I don't know. Ingredient education is something that's really lacking. And in SA, we just have been stuck in like 2006 for the past, 12 years, where, like fillet is still like a premium cut, and butternut and spinach are still like standard vegetables, to put on a menu and stuff with your steak, So we've just got a lot of food education lacking, and it's got absolutely nothing to do with qualifications, but it's got everything to do with what are people doing, what initiative are these chefs taking outside of their city and guilds qualification to venture deeper into food, and find out what's out there and experiment and, be vulnerable enough to, fuck up and learn something. We don't have a lot of brave, gutsy people in this industry, who are starting out, but it's not to say there aren't good examples, but yeah.
Okay, so I want to speak more about your career. You had the most amazing pop-up restaurant called Off the Wall, and now you're running Undignified. Tell us just briefly about Off the Wall, what it was all about, how it came up. I know the concept was really amazing, looking at all the countries in the world and fusing that with music. That was absolutely incredible. Tell us about that, and then let's go deep into Undignified, because that looks like it is a really exciting project for you.
Okay. Well, Off the Wall was super fun to do. I was running Off the Wall with DJ Bubbles, with Usaki Lengazi, and, we were like great friends, and we like so many of the same things, and like so many of the same things just made us tick, and we just decided to do this thing, and I'm going to say it again, capitalism sucks. We just got this idea to have this event together, and it was really, we weren't trying to be pioneers of anything, because we knew that the pairing of music and food is absolutely nothing new, but we knew that it was a space that him and I could create successfully, because he has a really great ear. He's been doing what he does for a long time, and he's just been collecting music from all over the world, like for 20 odd years. So he's got such a great background in music, like a really a meaty history and stuff, and he's just got a great ear, and he has like an extra layer of understanding, where we could work together and respect our mediums, respectively. So what we used to do was we'd focus on, street foods and, family favorites from different countries in the world. Like we did Japan, we did Brazil, we did South Africa, obviously. We did Korea, Mexico, Greece, Egypt, India. So we did a bunch of them. I mean, I'm not going to say that all of them were perfect depictions of these foods, but a lot of extensive research went into it, a lot of love went into it, and a lot of hard work went into it as well. And we just did this event because we both thought that having jobs sucked, and we were two skilled individuals, who loved each other, who loved what we did as well. And, we still love each other. And we just decided to put our heads together and just, create this space. Because also we were operating in Pretoria, a place that just had absolutely nothing going on, We would be stuck for things to do as well. And so that was one of the inspirations towards creating that space and starting Off the Wall. So we started that, and we did it. We established it in June 2014, and we started out at the Space. It's a space that most Praetorian creatives are aware of. It's and we got that space courtesy of Usbusile Xaba, Fave. And yeah, like he was super cool to us. He gave us the space. I gave him so much shit about everything all the time. Like, yeah, this isn't clean, this isn't done. And it was just like, wow, dude, you're getting the space for free. You're so mean.
And Undignified, tell us more about that.
Okay, well, I mean, Undignified wouldn't have been able to start without Off the Wall, because Off the Wall kind of introduced me to Praetorians and the Praetorian way of eating, the way people socialize here. It's not very different from wherever you and I are from, but, you know, there are things that people here like. And what's so cool about PTA and being able to start things is that there's just a hunger for something new here, because I guess because there hasn't been something new in so long. It's just been a repetition of the same thing over the years. And yeah, like, so Undignified came about sometime in 2017. I was going through like a mental meltdown, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, you know, and I was really at a crossroads in terms of mentally. I was in a space where I was just, you know, picking apart every little bit, every little aspect of my life. And food was a huge part of my life, and it is, and it always will be. And I was in a space where I was trying to figure out how to do things that are not boring, things that are not tired, things that are not self-serving. And I was trying to figure out how to get food knowledge and food education out there to people that really, really need it, you know, and just are not exposed to it. So it was all that, and then it was also how this is how Undignified came about. It was also a conversation I had with a friend of mine, Amy Hawley. She's in like Korea right now, and yeah, she just used to help me conceptualize a lot of stuff for Off the Wall, and she did a lot of our design work for us. So we were having this conversation just about social injustice, you know, the type of things that hipsters like to talk about but are really not privy to. So we just talk about things like I'd just be like, you know, Amy, like at 1:30 I'd send her a VN and be like, it just really bothers me that not everyone in the entire world can eat well, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like a really childlike perspective to have on a world that's become so real and cold and tangible to me, like to even think that way. But it's just something that's always bothered me, you know? Food education and the lack thereof, you know, in our school system has also been something that's really bothered me. You know, elitism in food and the idea that there are only certain people that deserve good things, and, you know, just the politics of luxury, the politics of class in food have always just been something that Amy and I used to like to sit and discuss, you know, late at night. And so Undignified was kind of a social, what did I call it? Intervention, call it, you know, where it was just a thing where I was just so sick and tired of how beautiful food seemed like an exclusively white thing, you know, and how in my community, I'm from New Brighton, in my community, something as simple as like a green salad was regarded as white food. And I'm sure it's like that in every hood, you know, you go to, where there are certain things that people in our communities refuse to eat or don't, or are afraid to eat because we feel as though that's not us, that's not how we eat. And anything that grows from the ground should be accessible to everyone, you know. So I think that Undignified was born of a frustration of sorts, of just not being in control, really. And I think it's a cool thing that Undignified was born out of those very real feelings that I had and real disillusionments that I actually had about the industry. And it's just at the moment all it really is just an Instagram page, if we're being honest. But it's just somewhere that I house all my ideas, somewhere I present all my ideas food wise. But I mean, I'm working on it becoming something a lot bigger, you know. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you're working on right now? I know you're with African Beer Emporium in Pretoria. You're conceptualizing some amazing dishes for them. In fact, you designed their new menu. And also you are doing like these amazing menu designs for their events. Tell us about that and maybe about anything else that you could be working on the side.
Okay, well, at the moment, I work for the Capital Craft restaurant group. So it's Capital Craft and African Beer Emporium at the moment. I do some exciting recipe development for them. It's been really fun working for these guys. They're just like a group of young, dynamic dudes. They have a lot of passion for the city. They do a lot of major parties here in Pretoria and outside of as well. And like working for them has been a trip because like I think that they have like they have a limited enough knowledge of food for me to trick them into putting things on their menu, you know, that I've always wanted to see on a menu, which is awesome. They just always believe me and I'm worried about them. But yeah, like at the moment, that's what I'm doing. I was, you know, instrumental in designing the menu for ABE at the moment, African Beer Emporium. And I do some recipe development on the side for Capital Craft as well. So a lot of most of the vegetarian dishes I've conceptualized because they are a smokehouse. So they deal primarily in meat, you know, and beer. And it's like it's silly to say, but it's true. It's like a really masculine food space as well, you know. So I guess that I'm kind of just adding a touch of nature to this place in a sense. But yeah.
Okay, so lastly, what more would you like to contribute to your industry, and do you think you'll ever consider working on projects outside of food?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, right now I'm working on a super duper important project with a friend of mine, and we're just trying to kind of, I wouldn't say this actually, I wouldn't even want to put this on record, but I'm going to go ahead and say it, you know, like I want to help revolutionize the way that, you know, young, busy, anxious people living in the city eat, you know, because I think I fit that demographic and I know how hard it is to remember to feed yourself, especially if you're a person that battles with mental illness. It's something that I understand and it's something I'm working towards at the moment. So I'm working on a major project with a friend of mine and I'd like it to be ready by Christmas time, God willing. So I'm doing that at the moment. I'd rather speak more on it when we have our first shoot, which is on the 9th of July. And yeah, I'm doing that at the moment and I'm really concentrating on it and I'm just trying to get that off the ground and, you know, trying to keep my job as well at the same time. And, you know, like what I'd like to see in the industry is I'd like to see, you know, young black children from the hood who are interested in cooking, to see another side of it and to see a whole other type of creative that they could be, and just to see just how much they could contribute to an industry that really, really actually needs them more than they think. You know, we need the thinking of young people who have got limited access to things, and we need their freaking magical brain power of, you know, making do, because that's what food is really. It's just like, what do you have, you know? What do you have right now at your disposal? What can you make? You know, I think that those environments, I mean, it's shitty to romanticize lack, but it's something that I have got experience in. I've grown up in a situation where, okay, yeah, we're having eggs for supper, bro, you know, figure it out. Yeah. So I think that, you know, those types of challenges create such like extraordinary chefs, you know, such great cooks, And I want Undignified to be able to be a platform that creates spaces for youngsters to know that they can access these very exclusive food spaces where we're styling food. It's like, what's that? What kind of job is that? Like, how's that even a real job, you know? And you have trouble explaining this job to your grandma, but, you know, you're raking in like racks, like proper money, just, you know, putting food together and making it look pretty. It's insane, you know? Yeah. But it's something that everyone can do. I think that if I can do it, anybody else that's grown up with a background similar to mine, worse than mine, can do it too, you know? Yeah. So that's these types of skills, these types of food skills are something that I want to get out there to people, you know, in the forms of workshops and just, you know, getting youngsters into practical working spaces where they can learn how to be chefs in their own regard, you know, and not just people that are going to be working on yachts because that's the thing they've been taught to want, you know? And yeah, I just
that's a real mind shift.
Yeah, it's important to know that there's so much more that we can do than just be a workforce for large food establishments and work really hard for very little. There's so much more we can do if we apply our minds and we're as creative as we want to be, and we're also put in a space where we're encouraged to be creative, which is a lot of us young black people that get into the food industry are taught that we're a workforce and that's all we'll ever be, and that's not true at all. Like, that will never be true, and it's true for some people who maybe have chosen food out of circumstance, but it's certainly not true for anyone. It's nobody's reality to just be a mule, you know, in a company that's not interested in you and has a vested interest in your growth. I think that it's possible, you know, to create a product, you know, from scratch, just from, you know, your head. Yeah. It's possible to start a magazine, you know. It's possible to create food on architectural levels in the name of art, you know. Bompas and Bar are doing it in London. Why can't Lindiwe and Ketiwe do it in freaking Dobsonville? Do you know what I mean? So I believe that all of us are born with creativity, and we're born like totally able to bring to life the things that swim around in our heads, you know?
Great. Thank you, Khanya. Thank you so much for chatting to me on Creative Ghettos and also inviting me into your very busy workspace. Thank you so much. Cool. And that's a wrap for today. To get a preview of Khanya's tantalizing meals and to get recipe ideas, you can follow her on Instagram at Undignified. Alternatively, you can visit the African Bear Emporium in Pretoria to grab a meal conceptualized by Khanya. To find out more about the Africans who drive various creative industries forward, make sure to follow Creative Ghettos on Instagram at Creative Ghettos. My name is Kwanele Kunene. Join me again next week, Friday from 2 to 2:30 p.m. for another impactful show. Bye for now.